for all.
Mrs. Bailey makes her apologies. She is focused on some things going on with family at the moment, supporting her son in a baseball tournament. So good luck. Last we knew, his team was up 11-2 in a full elimination tournament. So we shall see. We are anxiously awaiting word. So the first item on the agenda, I need the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I move approval of the agenda as presented.
I have a motion to have a second.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Board reports. Nagina.
All right. For my final meeting, I don't have much to report, as many of my organizations I was involved with wrapped up in May. I did, however, graduate earlier this month, so that happened.
Yes, it did.
Other than that, I'm just getting ready for college in the fall, so that's all I have to report.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I attended Flag Day along with most of my colleagues here, and it was hosted by Commissioner Randy Guy, and they had representatives of the American Legion and I believe several other schools that represented it. So I'd leave this to other people who want to talk about Flag Day. That's all I have.
All right. Well, like Jim said, we all attended that. It was a really nice ceremony. And again, I'm going to say, best wishes, and we're going to miss you.
Thanks, you guys, too.
Absolutely.
It's been an absolute pleasure working with you. You have brought great insight on behalf of the students of the school system, and you have represented them very well. So thank you, and I know you're going to do very well in the future. So best wishes on your future endeavors.
Thank you.
On June the 19th, I attended the in-person Juneteenth celebration at the Interpretive Center in Lexington Park. It was also held virtually due to COVID restrictions. Juneteenth is the combination of two words, June and 19th. Therefore, the name Juneteenth. On June 17th, 2021, Juneteenth became a federal holiday. Juneteenth is an annual celebration in the United States of the date June 19, 1865, that General George Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, to announce to enslaved people that they were free. This announcement came 2.5 years after President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, which recognized the end of slavery in America. The purpose of the celebration is to provide a greater understanding of our past, struggles, and American history so we can build a better future of inclusion for all Americans. The Juneteenth celebration in St. Mary's County was started by the United Committee for Afro-American Contributions. Elmer Brown was the insightful finder. The year 2021 was the 17th St. Mary's County Juneteenth celebration. The full-day celebration kicked off with comments from local and state elected officials, Mike Brown, the president of the organization, President Dr. Jordan, president of St. Mary's College of Maryland, Dr. Janice Wildfire, Nathaniel Scroggins, Meredith Taylor, and other VIPs. African American tours were included throughout the day, featuring the United States Colored Memorial. All of this is right here in our St. Mary's County, the Drayton African American one-room schoolhouse, and it is one of the best preserved one-room schoolhouses in the United States. And it is on its original site. And I have been there many times, and it is a great place for a family outing. The children will love it and will have many questions to ask about how could a teacher teach all the grades in one room? How did they keep it heated? Where did they get water from? They didn't have plumbing. And how did they have school buses? No, the students had to walk. So it is very interesting to go there. It is wonderful, and I'm so proud of my county that we have an authentic one-room schoolhouse. Then there was a tour to the African American Monument. That's near the Newtown Players. And the Interpretive Center features the desegregation of public schools in St. Mary's County. There are documents and photographs, and also other information concerning the Civil War. The event ended with a live jazz concert at Lancaster Park. The UCAC president, Mike Brown, and UCAC committee members, I thank them for planning and organizing this special event. People usually come from around the Tri-County area, the state of Maryland, and other states to visit this annual fun and learning event in our mother county. Pre-COVID, about 2,100 to 2,300 people would attend. Merchandise and food vendors, including nonprofits, MedStar, Office of Aging, churches, civic and philanthropic organizations usually are present. But with COVID, they all were not there this time. I had a wonderful time, and I look forward to attending each year. I love learning about all people, to include their history, culture, struggles, and accomplishments. This makes me a better, well-rounded citizen who embraces lifelong learning. That is my report, and thank you.
I want to congratulate the Great Mills Naval Junior ROTC unit. Out of 630 units across the country, our own Great Mills NJROTC was named the most improved unit in the country just recently. They go on to explain why the unit had been having some challenges that they were able to overcome, and for the first time ever, the top 3 leadership team are all women, and they did a lot to change the culture and change some of the processes so that they were able to get more midshipmen to come into the unit, to want to join the unit. So congratulations to Captain Randall, to the leadership team, and to the changes they've made to win this incredible honor. So.
Fantastic. Absolutely. Let's see. We graduated a whole bunch of students. That was fun. We had a length of service and retiree community. That was lovely and really quite wonderful. There was a dedication ceremony for the Courtyard Garden with the St. Mary's County Health Department, where they recognized all of the different components of the community that have helped us through the time of COVID. It was really quite nice. Before school ended, I did get to go down to George Washington Carver and spend some time with Molly Smith's 3rd grade as they presented their culminating reports about animals that interested them. So we were done. It was all done like a safari. We had hats. She had the front podium kind of decorated like a Jeep. Each child would come up and give their reports. They were fantastic, very informative, very exciting. George Washington Carver, what a wonderful place. I do want to talk a little bit about our Title I Equity Retreat that just concluded today. For the last 3 days, the Office of Equity, Access, and Early Education, under the direction of Dr. Hall, had a retreat for all of our title schools to come together and to talk a little bit about the most recent research that's going on with poverty and the impacts that it has physically on students and how best to handle all of the things that are going on. Dr. Adams and Ms. Woodley were instrumental in coordinating a really wonderful event. The 3 days, the first day was, we had actually a fairly famous author, Ruby Payne, who, going back all the way, this is from 1995, I think, the first work that she put out, A Framework for Understanding Poverty, was really important in delving deeply into what makes children behave the way that they do and what we can do as educators to truly understand what's going on. Multiple books that have been throughout the time, 25 years since then. Her most recent was Emotional Poverty, where she spent the entire day with over 60 teachers and paraeducators and administrators from St. Mary's County Public Schools talking about all of this. The second day, they did a lot of brain research and did some activities, and then their last day was led by Amy Spidell, who we all know who's been a leader for conscious discipline and conscious discipline training in St. Mary's County. It really is a wonderful opportunity to take a look at what we're doing right, what we can do better, and where we need to go in the future. And it speaks to the work that goes on after the children conclude their time with us. We are always lifelong learners, Mrs. Washington. We are always lifelong learners. There's always something more to unpack and better understand so we can serve our children and the community even better. So it's been great. This is a little bit of a lull. We have, I think we just have fine arts academies this week, and they are learning how to drum and to perform and to what have you. But then next week, after the 4th of July and after the 5th is another federal holiday, we will start our summer school programming. And we are providing service to over 3,000 students this summer in all facets of learning, from recovery to support to extension and enrichment. And in fact, we're joined by representatives from the Patuxent Partnership that actually help make that possible during the summer. But we are going to be very, very busy, very, very busy over the summer. Please be looking to, if you are a parent and you are uncomfortable perhaps with your children coming back full-time in person in school, please be paying attention to social media. We're going to be providing more information about virtual learning and virtual learning academy opportunities that will be in the fall. This is the last day of masked mandates in St. Mary's County Public Schools. We will be complying with the governor's order effective tomorrow, so there will not be masks worn in the buildings or on grounds unless by choice. Certainly, if you have not been vaccinated or you feel as though that's a layer of protection that you want to have, we still have over 750,000 masks. So we have more than enough to cover anybody who might have that need. Of note, we did send, I believe, an announcement out to parents today. The repealing of the mask mandate does not cover students on public transportation. And so school buses, we've got a legal interpretation, and they've officially been classified as public transportation. So while our children are on buses, they will be required to wear masks. Not my rule. It's the rule of the CDC, the federal government, and Governor Hogan's mandate for people to wear them on public transportation. So with that, so ends my report. It's going to be a very busy and wonderful summer. We're going to have great opportunities to interact with kids. I can't wait the next time we come together. I'll have a slideshow with great pictures of kids doing stuff, because there's going to be lots of kids doing stuff over the summer. I believe now I'd love to move on to recognitions, because it's only appropriate that Miss Ori started, and I'd like to finish with saying some words about Miss Ori. I'm going to go over there and take that podium and deliver a couple of words from there, and I ask Miss Allen if you could join me.
Yes.
Would you like to join me? Because I think you have some things to share as well. So with that, see if the cameras can follow us. Miss Ori, could you come up and join us?
Yes.
I have on behalf of Chairperson Bailey, who can't be with us today, we did sign a certificate of recognition and congratulations. Very well done. Lovely, lovely. All right. And I have some words I want to read, okay? And then I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Allen. All right. And this is actually in board docs if you want to read it as well. It's a bit, it's good. The Board of Education recognizes Nagina Ori for her outstanding service as the student member of the Board of Education of St. Mary's County for 2 years. She attended Leonardtown High School and graduated June 3rd, 2021. She is an active member. She was an active member of the Principals Advisory Committee. I've known you for years. The Student Council, the National Honor Society, the varsity tennis team. She also has been very involved with civic engagement and Fly for a Cure. Over $400,000 raised. $450,000 raised for blood cancer research. Incredible. She really has been. She's student voices and working with us from every single thing that we had to face, from things that were going on in the community, things that were going on in students' lives, to social, emotional challenges that they have, to a pandemic, to how we navigate our way through that, how we stay connected even if we aren't in person. You've been absolutely wonderful. So you're to be commended for your enthusiasm, your commitment, and your service as a student member of the Board of Education of St. Mary's County. Thank you so much for everything. You have also kept me honest for the last 4 years, making sure that we never lose focus on what matters most, which is what our children, what our students, what they are. Yes, and so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Allen.
Who will also probably cry. I have been incredibly fortunate because as the vice chair of the board, I am the one who is fortunate enough to mentor our student board member every time. And Nagina has been someone I've watched grow up, someone that I have been fortunate enough to spend time with, talking with, and really getting to know her on a very different level. And knowing that she is going off to Duke University, as a UVA grad, that's a little rough for me, but I'll give it to you. But I think out of everything you've done, the voice that you have provided for students has been extraordinary. Nagina has been somebody that instead of being in the limelight has really sort of held a mirror to others and let them be the ones who shined. She made it possible for so many students to grow as leaders. I think personally for me that is just extraordinary because that's hard to find, is a leader who can help others learn to lead. So congratulations. We're thrilled for you. Now I think we're going to let her.
If you have a couple of words.
I don't have anything prepared, but I'm also about to cry. Thank you so much to the board, to everyone here, for all that you've done for me, through the support, through providing me an amazing 12 years of education. Thank you. That's basically what I want to say. The tears, I'm trying to stop the tears, the line is not working. But as of tomorrow, July 1st, Judy Wynn will be taking my seat. So a huge, huge congratulations to her. I have known her not only as just a fellow student leader, but also as an amazing friend. And I know she's going to do an incredible job serving over the next year. And to all of the future student board members, I encourage students to apply for this position because I have absolutely loved it. I have grown so much as a person, as a student, and I truly, honestly, I don't think I would be going to Duke if it weren't for this position. I'll say it. But yes, thank you so much, and so I hopefully won't cry anymore.
Thank you.
We have for you this wonderful pardon gift to recognize in just a little more material way the work that you've done for us. And so as you take this off to college, just always think of us back here cheering you on.
I definitely won't forget you guys.
Never fall. Wonderful.
Absolutely.
That didn't happen.
You know what? It would be unusual if that hadn't happened. I think for every student board member we've given it to, that has been the outcome. It does go back together, and it just makes it easier to pack and take with you.
Okay.
to take it on the road. And if you think of it, there's 18,000 students, and you are their voice, and you did it for 2 years. So it's really just an amazing thing. And do not leave us behind. You must come back and tell us of all the great things that the world has for you and you have for the world. That's one of our greatest joys, is when people come back 5, 10 years, 15 years later, and we're just overwhelmed by what they've been able to do. And I'm sure that is your path, young lady. I am sure that is your path.
I will come back and visit for sure.
Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda, we have the recognition of the Patuxent Partnership. Dr. Marr?
Well, thank you. And I will also add my congratulations to Nagina, who has been a really tremendous support and leader of the Superintendent Student Leadership Advisory Council. It's been my pleasure to work with you for the last couple of years as well. Best of luck to you, Nagina.
Thank you.
Now, for over a decade, we have been so fortunate to have the incredible support of the Patuxent Partnership in funding our summer aerospace camp, now called Tech Ventures. Through this summer enrichment camp, students in grades 2 through 9 have opportunities to participate in hands-on, minds-on activities in science, mathematics, technology, and engineering. This summer, we also expanded our camp opportunities to include Environmental Explorers Camp at the Elms Environmental Center, which is further supported by the Patuxent Partnership. Since the program's inception, over 1,800 students have enrolled in our summer programs, and the Patuxent Partnership has donated over $250,000 in support. They are providing another $20,000 for this year's camps. They help defray the costs for our students and their families who pay to attend the camp. The funds also pay for the ongoing costs of technologies and materials used in the camp. And in 2020, while our camps were shuttered due to COVID-19, donations from the Patuxent Partnership allowed St. Mary's County Public Schools to provide much-needed technologies for our students for remote learning. Their continued support is both impactful and appreciated. This year's donation is also helping to fund STEM for All instructional materials for our schools. This evening, I want to take the opportunity to thank the Patuxent Partnership for their generosity and ongoing partnership. Joining us this evening is the president of their board of directors, Mr. Ray Warnicke. Mr. Warnicke, if you wouldn't mind joining up here. And Dr. Smith, if you'd like to join us as well. Thank you very much.
It's our pleasure. Thanks so much.
And I don't know if Dr. Smith will say a few words.
Thank you. Yep. I really don't have many more words other than what Dr. Marr shared, and what I shared briefly as we were getting ready. The advances that St. Mary's County Public School has seen in the last 20 years, and the focus on STEM and STEM for All initiatives, making sure that every child has an opportunity to get that spark, to have that, to be able to see somebody perhaps directly in the field applying the learning that they might see in their classroom. That really is also an incredibly important component of the relationship that we have with Patuxent Partnerships. I thank you for that. So if you have any words you'd like to share with us, please.
I'll be brief. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Dr. Smith, Vice Chair Allen. Thank you, board directors. The partnership, PACS partnership, we serve to connect dots, foster collaboration between academia, industry, and the government, but underscoring the word partnership. And I think that's what, at least personally, I'm most proud of, is the partnership we have with St. Mary's County Public Schools. It's been a long run, and it will continue to be a partnership as we move forward. So on behalf of Bonnie Green, our executive director, and our board directors, and all of our members, thanks for the privilege of serving.
How about if we have you stand right in the middle, Dr. Marr on one side, I'll be on the other side, and look at that. Dr. Montgomery, the deputy superintendent, always right there, has the camera at the ready. It's sparkled and everything, so.
Okay.
Very nice.
All right, thank you. Thank you again.
There is no public hearing this evening. Public comment, do we have? All right, if you will call the person up as they are making their way to the podium to provide public comment. I will give you in brief what our public comment statement is. The board welcomes public input on policies and issues affecting our schools. The board takes this time to listen and to consider, but not to comment. It's not the appropriate forum for negative comments or criticisms of individual students or staff. Concerns about those issues that can't be resolved at the level closest to the situation should be directed to Dr. Smith. We also sit as an appellate body in both student and employee appeals, so we cannot comment on or have prior knowledge of a case that would influence our ability to deliberate. We ask that you sign in at the beginning of the meeting, and public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. If you have prepared remarks, if you would give them to Mr. McCulka, our secretary, then he will scan them into our drive, and all board members will have access to those. So,
Dorothy Andrews.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Dorothy Andrews and I live in Callaway. The change that is trying to take place in our educational system is headed towards a disastrous path, board members. It's not educating our children, it's indoctrinating them. I'm here to express my discontentment with the performance of the St. Mary's educational system. In the 2020-2021 school year, I was blessed to have 2 of my grandchildren in a homeschooling curriculum because of the unconstitutional conditions that were placed on our community. I'm not here to talk about that. I am here to describe the differences in my 2 grandchildren's learning during kindergarten. You see, they're 6 months apart, but one attended private school and the other public school. What you are about to hear should be alarming. The private school child could write her full name, could count well past 200, and could read. The public school child couldn't write their first name, couldn't count past 22, and couldn't read. On top of that, their first name wasn't even legible. Standards are too low in public school to create achievers no matter who they are. There is nothing too small to do well, should be the attitude of every teacher, not babysitter, who in turn demonstrates and requires it of all their students. Now, I don't know how all of you can take this into consideration and achieve it, but I have some ideas. Let's go back in time. Let's use a time-traveling horse named Liberty. I used this program for additional teaching for my grandchildren in history, America's heritage. They loved it and comprehended it very well. This is just one idea that I have. Why aren't Christian values being taught? We're not teaching religion. We are teaching good conduct and respect for one another. I want my grandchildren respecting our flag. Many have died to keep this country free. Now, we've elected you to represent us, not the federal government and not teachers' unions. I can tell you from talking to others that I'm not alone. In closing, I would like to express something so powerful, yet so simple, that I'm hoping all of you will make the right decisions for our children, for their future. The Bible states that it would be better for a millstone to be hung around someone's neck and thrown into the sea if you offend one little child. So fear God when you make decisions, because you are accountable to Him for them. Thank you.
anyone else? Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I move that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Action items, Gaggle Digital Safety Management Software. Mr. Eibel.
Good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Is there anything I need to do at my end for this?
Yeah. All right, let me
Yeah, that's his first time.
Yeah.
troubleshoot
this
for you there, Mr.
Sure,
Arbel.
thank
Here.
you. Thanks,
We'll
sir.
move.
All right.
Yeah, we got it. So, I think we already got it open. Don't we have it open? I hope we have it open. No, we don't. All right, so let's go find where your presentation is. And let's hope that it's in the folder that it's supposed to be in. There you go. Board of Ed presentations, 2021. 6:30. Okay, look at that. It's right where it's supposed to be. Assuming that it opens. There we go. And then what we want to do is we want to present, and it should. Ha! You're driving.
All right.
People say I don't know anything, but I know stuff.
We're so glad.
Yeah.
So in reference to Gaggle, this, to request board approval of contract approval to utilize by board contract number 579-19 to purchase digital safety management software from Gaggle at a fiscal year 22 cost of $57,500. Further, that the board approve the use of this contract to purchase additional software from Gaggle as needed and as funding permits throughout the duration of the contract, which has the potential to be valid through December 31st, 2021. In January of 2021, SMCPS implemented the Gaggle platform designed to monitor online activities of students using assigned educational platforms and identify risk behaviors. As a result of this implementation, SMCPS immediately recognized the value of the Gaggle platform, identifying high-risk student behaviors. The Gaggle platform has enabled SMCPS to provide follow-up to students involved in these risk behaviors. SMCPS maintains a 24-hour on-call monitoring system with existing staff to assess Gaggle reports. SMCPS has received a total of 236 reports of concern regarding content on student accounts. 90% of the reports involve written content by student referencing suicide or self-harm. Maryland state law, as stated in the annotated code of Maryland State Finance or Procurement Article 13-110 and Board Policy and Regulation DJC and DJC-R, encourage the use of cooperative contracts established by other agencies, provided public bidding process were followed. The purchase agreement will use by board contract number 579-19, which is valid through December 31, 2021. On September 22, 2010, the board adopted and signed a resolution authorizing and supporting the use of the National Purchasing Cooperative operating as by board. Recommended action to the board is that the board approve award of contract by board number 579-19 to purchase digital safety management software from Gaggle at a fiscal year cost of $57,500. Further, that the board approve the use of this contract to purchase additional software from Gaggle as needed as the funding permits throughout the duration of the contract, which has the potential to be valid through December 31 of 2021.
And I will tell you, so we've presented Gaggle several times to you before. We've kind of looked at what that analytics are. We had Sergeant Smith and Mr. Wyant come forward and talk about what the protocol is as things come in the evening and over the weekend, and how busy that can make us, that we can be with that. I will tell you, we tried everything we could to get this under $50,000. But no matter how much we finagled, 57.5 is where we come in. We definitely see the value of the product. It does give us peace of mind, and as we have intervened in situations that we feel fairly confident would have been much more tragic had we not. I think it's well worth the proposed cost. And this is, if you looked at the contract, this really is to focus on our secondary students particularly.
I have no questions, thank you.
Jim?
The only question I have is, does the software use like keyword recognition in order to determine if there's a threat?
Yes. So it runs the algorithm through the Google Drive for the students at the high school and middle school level, keying on keywords, nudity, profanity, that type of.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, is that for every laptop and computer that's issued by the school?
It's actually based off of the email that is assigned to the student. It has nothing to do with the particular device that they're on. If they log in under their SMCPS email address, then it will monitor their Google account.
And the way we've currently got the machines set up is that when we provide you a machine, it is of no use unless you sign in as yourself. So anything that happens on that machine then also runs through the Gaggle platform. Moreover, if you are at home and you might be using a different computer, if you're logged in through your email account and you're accessing the suite of technologies that we have, then it would also run through the software.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Does this go to the security department, such as yourself, or does the contractor say, okay, this needs to go to, let's say, the school psychologist, or
So it basically, there are 4 or 5 what we call emergency personnel that receive the Gaggle information, what they flag and how they flag it. The content actually gets sent to us. So we have Robin Schrader, who is our mental health coordinator, is also on that emergency list. So we work in conjunction with their office to forward any information that needs to be sent to, say, student counselors, school psychiatrists. So she works at that end, but she's on the initial list of people, other than safety and security, that get the information.
okay, thank you.
Mary?
Excuse me. This is a wonderful program because it helped to save lives and it identifies students who need help because they may not talk to anyone, but we have people 24/7 who get the information. If there is a hit about behavior that is unacceptable or words that a student may be thinking of doing harm to himself or herself or someone else. So I think this is really great to keep our students and staff and community safe. Thank you.
And if there's an imminent threat, Gaggle will contact 911 directly, but they will also contact us via phone. So it's not just an email contact. They have all the emergency contacts, cell phone numbers, and they'll reach out to us directly.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's excellent.
yeah, to let us know if there's an imminent threat that we need to act on right away.
I don't have any questions. I think that the presentations, the conversations we've had about this over the last number of months have answered all of the questions that I had. So is there a motion to approve this item?
I move that the board approve the use of by-board contract number 579-19 to purchase digital safety management software from Gaggle at a fiscal year 22 cost of $57,500. Further, that the board approve the use of this contract to purchase additional software from Gaggle as needed and as funding permits throughout the duration of the contract, which has the potential to be valid through December 31st, 2021.
There's a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, information item, COMAR changes to graduation requirements. Ms. Bachner and Dr. Jaffers.
Dr. Jaffers, you need me to give you a hand there?
Charles was going to give us that.
I was going to help.
Okay. I know, Ms. Bachner, I know you don't need, but, just
We're all helping.
Yeah, we're all helping.
And just because you'd be disappointed if we didn't say anything, well done, 10 slides, good job.
Well done.
Not
Lisa's
usually
in charge.
30, 40, 50.
Lisa cut me down.
He would have been
cut you
upset if we
down.
hadn't said something.
Good evening. It's different to be in front of you tonight instead of a Zoom meeting.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
it's nice
Very
to see.
nice.
And Nagina, congratulations
Thank
to you.
you.
We will miss you. And I remember you in pre-K.
Oh, my goodness.
Do you remember my first day of pre-K?
Yes, I do. So you've come a long way. Very proud of you.
Yeah, I threw a tantrum on my first day, if anyone was curious.
But Nagina, you are not alone. So very good. We're here before you, Dr. Jaffers and I, as we promised we would be when we shared with you the program of studies in January and February, and said the state at that time was going through a process of looking at graduation requirements and assessment protocols and making some changes. So we are here tonight to share those with you. So just an overview, to go back in time a little bit, the Maryland High School Graduation Task Force was first convened in 2018 at the request of the State Board of Education and State Superintendent of Schools, and our own superintendent was part of that task force. Am I right?
17 meetings. Each meeting was 3 hours long and held in a span of 4 months. I mean, we met a lot.
Okay. And now we are finally
And
becoming law.
So 3 short years later,
We're here. The task force was charged with making recommendations on a few things, and of course, looking at the Code of Maryland Regulations, as we know as COMAR, and was asked to focus on the 3 areas of credit and program requirements. In other words, number of credits, subject areas and other requirements, as well as assessments, and then just the process and options for awarding diplomas. All decisions, and Dr. Smith can attest to this, were informed
Yes.
by current research, data, and a lot of experts were brought into that task force to give guidance. 24 organizations and stakeholder groups were invited to have a representative sit on the task force. So what was passed through the recent legislation, or I'll get to that in a minute, our previous, we wanted to share with you what is currently in the program of studies, although we just saw that in January and February. Right now, students must earn, in our high schools, 21 credits to graduate to get a diploma. And that hasn't changed for quite several years. I was talking to Ms. Washington a few hours ago, and she said, I remember some changes previously, and it's been quite a while since we've made some changes. But those are the credit requirements currently in our program of studies. What was just recently approved by the state is increasing the graduation requirements from 21 credits to 22 credits. And please note that these changes go into effect for freshmen entering in August of this year. They're grandfathered. So a student right now who's sitting as a sophomore, they are still operating under our other ones that I just shared with you that had been approved. Freshmen entering in 2021 in the fall will be adhering to these state requirements. And what we did is we highlighted those changes, because not everything changed, but some things did. One notable change is the math that is now 4 credits, and students must be enrolled in math all 4 years that they are in high school. Now, we have sort of half of that right now. In the St. Mary's County public schools, students must be enrolled in a mathematics course each year of high school, but the state requirement is that they only have to have 3 credits. So now we're kind of matching up the two. Not only do you have to be enrolled in a mathematics course each year, you also have to have 4 credits of mathematics to get your diploma. The other notable change is, if you remember previously, and anybody sitting in high school right now or has graduated, health was half a credit or 1 semester of health, and now it has gone up to 1 credit of health. What the state has shared with us, and you're like, we don't have the curriculum for that. How are we going to schedule that? Remember, this is with the freshman incoming class that these credits start, and the intent is that the 9th and 10th graders would have the first half credit like they typically do, where they have PE for a semester backed up to health half a semester in their 9th and 10th grade year. And then in their 11th and 12th grade year, they'd have another half semesterized health course before graduating. So we have about a year and a half, 2 years to get to get curriculum together to have that half credit health course. The state has shared with us they will be writing a curriculum that we can use, or standards definitely, and they'll give us assistance with that. But that is, you'll see on a next step, something we definitely have to plan for, because that has staffing implications, as well as what are we going to back up to that half credit when we do that for 11th and 12th graders. So we have to think about that. The other change is, if you remember, the technology education credit, as it was written before, really included, specifically it said Foundations of Technology, the FOT, and this also says you can have FOT, but you can also have computer science now as that one credit. And we've been doing that in our county with permission from MSDE. Now it's in the legislation. If you remember, all our 8th graders got computer science last year, which we were very forward-thinking on, which was great. And then one of the following, world language now has just a little disclaimer that it has to be 2 credits of the same language. So students before were able to take perhaps Italian 1, maybe if they didn't like it, they could drop and then do Spanish 1, and that would count. And the state is saying no more. You need to take 2 of the same language for it to count. Now you can take more as an elective, but in order to meet the graduation requirement, you need to take, if you take Spanish 1, you have to take Spanish 2. If you take Latin 1, you have to take Latin 2. They are deleting the advanced technology credits, and that is a pathway that very, very few of our students use at all. The state is telling us that they are revising that, so that they are going to revise it, and then it will become a CTE pathway. So it won't stick out as just being advanced technology and then CTE pathway. It will be one of the CTE pathways. So, of course, the CTA program completion is still a graduation requirement. And the other electives, if you remember before, there were 3 credits for electives, and now it's 2.5. So they decreased that amount. And if you're thinking, well, if you're going to add a half credit for health, that means you're probably going to have to add some other half credit courses. And yes, we have a committee on the program of studies that is looking at just that. We don't want to add a lot because we work very, very hard to get to full year courses in our program of studies. But we do have to add some choices for students when they go to take that half credit health course in 11th and 12th grade in the future. So this is just a summary of side by side. Since this is Board Docs and a public document, we thought that was a really good visual to kind of share with the public on that. And now we're going to go into assessment requirements.
Yeah, well, so these are for, as Lisa said, rising 9th graders, which is the class of 2025. That would affect the graduation requirement. For these assessment requirements, this is the class of 2026, which is our rising 8th grade. And Scott and I, we've been engrossed in these conversations over the last couple of years. He's been instrumental, and I think this is a really good opportunity for us to say, hey, rather than these high stakes course end of course assessment requirements that had been in place, we're moving more towards an end of course assessment, which will figure in 20% of the student's final grade. So basically in the first 2 bullets, what we used to do is we used to meet end of course assessment requirements with our 4 core content: algebra, English, science, and government. We had to essentially participate in the actual assessment to count towards graduation. And as you can see, we also had the bridge plan for academic validation, which was part of an alternative pathway for graduation. And students also had the opportunity to retest. Lastly, school systems like ourselves, we would only report if a student met assessment requirements, but not how, basically. So that was what it used to be, right? So now as we move into this new realm of assessment, as we move into 2022-2023 school year, which is not this fall but next fall, it's our rising 8th graders that are this year going to be class of 2026. We're looking at the high school assessments now are going to be used only, as we said, as an end of course assessment that contributes to about 20% of the student's final grade. They're still working out all the logistics about what that 20% looks like, what the science test especially looks like, government as well, but math and ELA, we're working through all those iterations right now. But as we move to the next bullet, students shall take the requisite high school assessment during the next administration if the student received credit for taking any of the following courses aligned with those assessments, which was the algebra, science, English, or government. After 4 years of adoption of this recommendation, MSD will study the correlation between the final course grades and the assessment scores. Then I guess they would make another adjudication as to whether we want to continue along this path or not. I believe that with the last bullet and note, the bridge plan for academic validation is still being discussed as an alternative pathway. They have not made any final recommendations or determinations, but we're waiting for that final guidance from the state.
And really, the one thing that this solves is one of the great challenges to every school system is that you have a child who passed English 10 but did not pass the HSA or the MSA or the assessment, the high school assessment associated with it. So the following year, you had to have that child retake that test, and you had to then in some way remediate them to be ready to take that test. And for the child themselves, that test doesn't really exist anywhere. The score that they get on it doesn't really exist anywhere. This now puts direct skin in the game. It's the end of the year. It's your final exam. It counts for 20% of your overall grade. It's directly put in there. And if you fail the year, you fail the course, and you're going to be right back in the course and go through the whole progression again. And you're going to take the test again. You only meet the graduation requirement once you have successfully passed the course, earned the credit, and sat for the exam.
Yeah, and the implication, we would always ask ourselves, did the student pass the course and pass the test? Did they pass the course and not pass the test? I mean, it really burns a lot of capital.
Right.
It's going to free up scheduling and free up a lot of our, all the perseverance of what we consider to be passing versus not passing. And as Scott said, we don't have access to that test. We couldn't remediate the test. It was up there in the cloud. So now what we have is we have a 20% end of course assessment. The kid does not pass. That's figured back into the student's final grade. They don't pass the course, they have to go back into the same course again. And it cuts down our haggling about whether a student passed the course and or passed the test. So
It'll be very straightforward. In theory.
So the program studies, we will reflect these changes with our next revision. The 1/2 credit health course will be developed and staffed for delivery to students no later than school year 2023. And communication of these changes will be made to all of our stakeholders, including the Board of Ed's, St. Mary's County staff, parents, and students.
And just to note that we will be changing the requirements for our current program of study. We'll be putting an addendum in as a sheet to share with the freshmen that are entering next year so that it is current. It's already a published document, but now that we do it on the website, we can easily add that. So we'll have 2 credit pages basically in there, one for the incoming freshmen sharing what the requirements are, because they go into effect even though we tried to say don't do this. In September of this year, and then of course all the other students are operating under the older requirements. So with that, are there any questions?
Nagina?
So, would students have an opportunity to take a half credit of health over the summer or possibly in middle school?
I don't think we've thought that far yet. And are you talking about the half credit that's currently available for 9th and 10th? Because they certainly couldn't take the one that we're thinking for 11th and 12th grade.
I'm not sure exactly how that would work out, like if there's going to be just 1/2 credit that's going to be a certain curriculum and then the other half credit's going to be totally different, or if
Yes.
there's going to be, right, so is there an opportunity to take either half credit over the summer or perhaps in middle school to kind of get them ready for the other half credit that they would have to take later, or is it that they have to take it in high school, like during the school year?
I know the health has to be taken in the health has to be taken when either the summer before or in high school, because there's an 8th grade health curriculum that they have to take then. So we can't take like the requirements for health right now and bring them down to middle school, 8th grade, because there's already there. We haven't discussed about what options are going to be available to students either virtually or during summer, but we also have a subcommittee on the program of studies to look at that, because as you know, our last year has changed the complexion fraction of a lot of what we can offer. Now we're having a virtual academy, so we do think that the ceiling's going to be raised on some of the offerings we traditionally couldn't offer, and of course this will be considered if no decision's been made yet.
Okay, and that leads me to my next question. Would FOT and computer science principles still be offered over the summer as it has been in the past?
It is this summer, am I right, Dr. Dappers?
Correct? Yep. Affirmative. Yep.
All right, thank you.
The curriculum of health, could you give it a little example of what would be in the curriculum?
They haven't released that to us yet, so they're in the process of revising, and as I said, they have shared with us, MSDE has shared with us. I think they have the standards in place, but they'll share with us samples of curriculum that we can use, and certainly we will bring it to the board when we get that.
Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
Going to the math credits, and it says it must be enrolled in all 4 years. So what happens if you have a student in like 7th or 8th grade that's already taken algebra, geometry, then the 9th through 12th, they still must be in calculus and...
We
Okay.
run out of courses, Ms. Weaver.
Because I
Which is
didn't
a
know
good
that,
problem
okay,
to
well,
have.
if I've taken my 4, now I can concentrate, like, say, on doing physics or advanced chemistry.
And I'm going to let Dr. Jaffers interject because he was the mathematics supervisor before taking this position, and that's always, I think, been an issue for our real high-achieving students. Right now, for the most part, the only 8th graders coming out of 8th grade that have geometry are our STEM students, for the most part, are our STEM students. And so you're right, the trajectory after geometry is going to be Algebra 2, then Pre-Calc, then traditionally Calc AB, and then Calc BC or AP Statistics. This makes that they have to absolutely continue on that trajectory. And so I do think down the road we are really going to have to think about adding some other classes we may not have had to add before. Would you say anything to
Yeah, I
that?
think 2 things. I think it's an and, so it's 4 credits of math and enrolled in all 4 years of high school. It's really about they don't want to stop the learning as kids migrate to post-secondary school. What's interesting about this whole initiative is that we've heard locally is that when students are only required for 3 credits but enrolled in math for 4 years of math in high school, that 4th year, oftentimes students take a hiatus and they're in the class and they're not really engaged in the learning. They've already had their 3 credits and they're just engaged in non-academic pursuits in that course, in that math course, because they don't need it to graduate. So basically, we've heard a lot of pushing on our end that people would like to get that to 4 credits. So I think, all in all, I think it's a good initiative for all of us. But it's an and 4 credits of math and being enrolled in math continuously throughout your high school experience.
Yeah, and I understand that, but I guess I was looking at what happens if you are not going to be pursuing a degree in mathematics and you don't want to be taking statistics or something like that, and you would rather focus on like physics or focus in another area. Now that has taken up a portion of your day, and that's where I mean, I know this is going to be a state requirement, but I guess I'm kind of like, well...
And I think that was a lot of the debate, and Dr. Smith can
Oh my
say,
goodness,
I think it's been a debate for a
we
long
went
time,
round-
for those of you who've been on the
Yeah.
board for a long time.
We went round and round because there had been a greater push to push algebra down to 8th grade and then 7th grade and then 6th grade. People wanted their children to be in algebra in 6th grade. And if you put your child in algebra in 6th grade, by the time you get to your junior year of high school, you have got to be at Calculus Plus. And there are some of us who cannot truly navigate calculus. I'm not saying I'm one of them, but I am absolutely one of them. So with the Maryland standards as they currently are written, accelerated learners do not get past algebra in 8th grade, with the exception of our accelerated STEM students. So that's 45 students. So the most accelerated you would be going into high school. You'd be geometry, algebra 2, pre-calc, and stats. Like, let's say you went that path. That's a really well worn path that gives you a lot of foundations that are very good for college and post-secondary work. And if somebody is like, I am all about physics, I can assure you don't go, oh, I'm all about physics and I'm not about math. You know, those 2 pathways definitely track with one another. But either way, the state's done it, it's there, we'll build all kinds of, I think that one of the things that we'll be looking at are maybe some higher interest entrepreneurial math, something like that to round out the senior year, much more so than financial literacy or something like that, but some kind of a mathematical course that really kind of captures interest and helps the child that might not be math-oriented, who has reached their zenith with Algebra 2 and kind of run out of steam.
I'm so sorry Mrs. Bailey isn't here today.
I will say that English has been all 4 years, and it's been delightful. And I'm glad to see that math finally gets the due that it's maybe deserved, but you know.
And to remind this board that not this year, but the last year, you all approved a qualitative literacy a course, which is a dual enrollment course, just specifically for students that were not on a STEM trajectory to go post-secondary. And I brought the program of studies just because Ms. Washington had this question also for me. And the topics that are included in that are logical thinking, personal finance, statistical reasoning, and probability. So without a STEM focus. So just like you said, there's probably many students definitely going to go to careers and other pathways that maybe not are STEM related, still have to do this. What mathematics can we give them that's meaningful? And that is such a course that we added into the program of studies. And we also do have a financial or a financial math class for students to take after Algebra 2 or in lieu of Algebra 2, I think also. For that reason.
All right, that sounds good, thank you.
That does sound good. And, and I like the courses that you have, that students can take, students who are not going to pursue higher math so they can have success while in school, because the field that they're going in, they may not require calculus. But you have financial literacy, and what was that other one?
Qualitative literacy. We also have practical mathematics.
Practical math. So those, especially financial literacy, I like financial literacy. I think it's important that students are aware of that. So, yeah, I think, like you say, you might even have to add a few more courses because we want to see students successful. Because one size does not fit all, even though they have to take one math class each year in high school. We want to make sure that the students will be successful and be within what they want to do in their future.
Right. And
So-
I think the technical term is financial mathematics class.
Yeah, financial mathematics. And it does, I mean, part of the programs for that is, you pay your taxes, mortgages, car payments. Those are really applicable to real life endeavors.
Exactly.
So I think
That's
quantitative
important.
literacy and the financial math, they really sort of button up students' high school experience if they aren't STEM motivated, so.
Right. And also, how will you communicate this and put it out there like, flash, there are going to be major changes for these incoming freshmen that will graduate? Is it something we can put on our website, say, go to the program of studies? There are going to be major changes, so the parents and the students need to look at it now, because these incoming freshmen will have to know what these are so they can start thinking about it and know, don't look at what was, that's not it anymore, this is what it is. So
Absolutely.
any way to get that word out to them early, the sooner the better. With news flash, things are changing, and the graphic that you have is excellent. What it used to be, the summary changes, I think that, and you have it in red, is easy to understand, so everyone knows. So we need to put that out to let them know it's coming out in the program of studies, this is what it is, so it make it easy for parents and students.
Yeah, and
Whatever way you can come up with a communications plan to let them know is excellent.
And I think we've talked with Ms. Hunt, because that's our key, is that counseling staff that's assigned to those ninth graders. Like, you get in there early and really, they do assemblies with students, usually the first week of school. We get to do this again. That would be a perfect time to just make sure. The good news is they're all enrolled in mathematics. And if not this year, they're all enrolled in their health class, either this year or next year, like they typically are. That's the good news.
Okay, and we have our website.
Yep.
So, thank you.
Had enough of these changes been considered when we did the freshman, as students were, I know this year we did virtual.
Yes.
So that as students were learning to understand what they were going to have to navigate in high school, were you able to talk about this? Was there enough?
All of these changes don't have an impact in their freshman year. The only thing that these rising, the class of 2025, the impact that they're going to have is that when they get to their senior year, they're going to have to pass the math course that they're in already.
Right.
And between the time that they enter as freshmen and they leave as seniors, they're going to have a half credit of health, whatever that half credit of health may be. So that really is, the bottom line. Well, and if they are University of Maryland completers, they're going to have 2 sequential languages to graduate. But we already encourage that. We don't tell people you can do year 1 Spanish and year 1 whatever. That's not what we do. We encourage you to take 3 years at least, if not 4 years of a language. So the impact to the actual freshmen and the schedules that they've built need not be adjusted in any way.
Right.
This is more making sure that they're aware as they progress through high school that these are the changes between them.
But we didn't specifically share
Okay.
with, and just
there's
because
time.
we've been waiting for this for 2018, and we really didn't know because there was some discussion. I know I put in a letter to the state asking for us to wait, and so the assessment changes, and this could go in at the same time. To me, that made sense to put it all out in 2020, 23, or 2022, 23. Nobody listened, but yeah, I don't think we were we didn't
Not clear enough, right.
communicate that
Yeah.
clearly.
Well, one can hope that the MSD will get all their ducks in a row.
Well, there's a new superintendent, so.
I guess one of the things I like about the change in math, although it's not a major change for us, is that I've always been torn by the fact that if you started taking algebra early, that meant you were missing 1 to 2 years of math that you normally would have gotten. I know that some of our teachers have worked to accelerate so that if you were going to go into algebra in 8th grade, that in your 7th grade year you were getting a combination of 7th and 8th grade math so that you wouldn't miss, portions. So I think there's good to be seen here. I think it'll be really interesting with the inclusion of the high school assessments into the course, what those HSAs will now look like.
Yes.
I would think they would not be as lengthy as they have been. One can hope.
Right. Well, the challenge is that whatever these assessments are, they're going to have to be administered and graded and returned back within a very small window.
Right, and that's also been a huge challenge that we've had over the years is they take them in the spring and you don't get the results back until close to Christmas or so a little late in being able to actually address any holes in a student's understanding. So, definitely will be interesting. Thank you for sharing this with us, and we will stand by to see how these things change. So, all right, thank you. Does anyone else have anything for board member time? Anything else you want to say?
We did we do summer school?
Oh, sorry,
There's
summer
a summer
school.
school
Yeah,
update.
sorry, I'm looking at that.
I thought there were still questions on this.
Yeah,
I'm fine.
just don't mind
That's
me.
okay.
Yeah, summer school recovery update, Ms. Bachner, Dr. Marr, and Ms. Stone.
And it's just going to be Miss Stone and myself, because Dr. Marr had a family commitment. He had to leave. So
Got it.
he thinks he left it in good hands. We're pretty
I'm sure
so
he did.
we're fine.
Positive that he did.
I think Ms. Stone has been before you before with our Striving Readers Grant as one of our literacy coaches. And before I start, I can promise you, she is our summer school coordinator. And think I can speak on behalf of Dr. Marr and Dr. Montgomery and the rest of us that we could not have done this without her. She has been amazing. So definitely someone you'll probably see up here in the future quite a few times. She's done a great job. So the key purpose is, and some of this is a little bit redundant of what you've heard before, but we wanted to make sure that we're up to date with everything as we started this week with PD. Our key purposes for summer school are closing those learning gaps through recovery and accelerating learning for future success. Our bottom line is we really want to make sure kids feel comfortable back in school right now so that they are off and running when they come back and aren't scared to get on that school bus and come to school because they have some gaps in their learning, which we're expecting and we're ready to help those with them. So we do have focused areas of recovery. We can't recover a kid's whole schedule. So for elementary school, we are going to be providing summer school opportunities to remediate and recover and accelerate reading, language, arts, and mathematics. And in middle school, the core content areas, specifically English, mathematics, social studies, and science. And then in high school, really, we're so blessed because it's graduation requirements, and then we can offer so many other things because of Edgenuity, the Edgenuity option we have. So we may not be able to offer everything on a student's schedule that in high school that they need to remediate face-to-face, because that's building those Schoology courses. But for 6-week increments, not what we had before, we had to rebuild for summer school, but we do have lots of Edgenuity options for either quarter recovery or for original credit if we had to go there for those students. So the general logistics, we are starting next Tuesday for that, and it will be through Friday. Most days, most of the weeks, it's Monday through Thursday because of our compressed schedule in the summer, but because of the July 4th holiday, we will be going Tuesday through Friday next week. It's 4 days a week. It's a 4-hour schedule every day, and we do have a little bit different schedules based on schools because of transportation. We have to make sure that we're offering transportation, so that kind of dictated some of our scheduling. So secondary schools, Banneker, George Washington Carver, and Greenview Knolls and Green Holly are paired together, remember, because they're going underground renovation at Green Holly. So we put those staffs together at Greenview Knolls. They're going from 8 to 12, and then the remaining elementary schools are going from 9:30 to 1:30. A little later than what we wanted to do, but it's good. We'll have a break. We'll give them their sack lunch in that amount of time, and we still have lots of time to make sure that we have the integrity of having mathematics and English during the required time frames that we were planning to do instruction. And then there also is an opportunity for 2 hours of specially designed instruction, and we'll get to that in a minute with special education. For special education, they're going to have AM and PM sessions. So the screen before I showed you with 4 hours of instruction is for basically the general population, which includes special ed students. And if the special ed student is attending in the morning, then they will have inside the general education support, as they typically do during the year, where you have maybe a paraeducator or a teacher providing accommodations and modifications, or special ed teachers which are employed for summer school to provide those, and implementation of specially designed instruction such as interventions, like specific interventions can be done also in the morning. And then in the afternoon, there will be small group specially designed instruction for our secondary students for special ed. We have 3 options that we're providing, and this is unusual around the state to be providing 3 different options. And the schools have been working with families to identify which option is best for their family and best for their student. And we're offering face-to-face in-person for kindergarten through 12th grade. We're offering virtual synchronous, which is what we did primarily all of this year, where there was Schoology and teachers had Google Meets and things like that and worked with students. And then we have virtual completely asynchronous, which is using the Imagine Learning platform for our little ones K through 5, and then the Edgenuity platform for 6 through 12.
So on the slide, you can see with our students and staff the 3 different instructional pathways at each of the levels, elementary, middle, and high school. And the majority or bulk of our students in the summer recovery program are in that face-to-face or on-site environments. So we do have 21 sites with 5 elementary schools teaming up with 5 others. And as you can see, we've got over 1,600 students that will be face-to-face for summer recovery and over 300 staff members. And then the others kind of break down. So with all of our summer programs, that's also including probably previous presentations on Title I, Head Start. We have over 3,000, as Dr. Smith said earlier, 3,000 students participating. Also includes some of our summer enrichment camps. Transportation, of course, is being provided. I can't thank enough Jeff Thompson and his Department of Transportation. Everyone, Joe, Amy, I'm sure I'm missing somebody, but the emails that I get back and forth, just trying to coordinate all the sites here, there, everywhere. They're doing an amazing job. And then also Megan Dorn and her staff with food services, because breakfast and lunch will be provided, so trying to organize those satellite sites like they did. It's a true system-wide initiative, and everyone is doing everything they can to make it happen. So health, safety, and security, of course, as Dr. Smith already had said, June 1, no masks or social distancing on site, but as he had also stated, our school buses, students will have to have masks. There was a communique that was sent out through School Messenger to all of the students that are participating on site, and just to let them know that masks are required and that bus drivers will have them if they don't have them themselves. There are safety and security assistants at each of the sites, thanks to Mike Wyatt and his department. Nurses, Cheryl Long with Student Services. Nurses are also on site for most. We also do have safety, CPR, first aid kind of there, so we're definitely monitoring the sites that need nurses and kind of health providers. Also, social workers, counselors, PPWs, that's been coordinated also with Cheryl Long and Student Services, even for our virtual pathway, so that in case any of the team, any of the students need any kind of help or support, we've got that covered. Grading, of course, at the end of the 6 weeks. For elementary, teachers are preparing narratives for their English language arts, how they progressed, English language arts and in mathematics. For middle school, students will receive that pass or fail. You're just monitoring their progress in the 6 weeks and how they've grown. And then in high school, same, teachers will have the grade books and Schoology, will report the grades. Those grades will then be transcripted and then become a part of their GPA. And with that, any questions?
Nikita?
So I want to clarify on one thing. So even if the student failed the class during the school year, but they do their summer recovery program, and they get a B in this course, the F would be replaced with the B because they did the summer recovery program, like for the whole year, their average would be a B, or how would that work?
The failed course must stay on the transcript, okay? So you'll have the course that they had previously, Nagina, and the F. But if they take it in summer school, let's say they get a C out of summer school,
Right.
the C also gets on, and the C becomes the grade that's transcribed in the GPA.
Okay.
Okay, so it's recalculated with a C, but we have to reflect, anytime you take a course in a school, it can't be taken off a transcript. So the F has to stay on the transcript, but it will kind of be ignored, I guess, and recalculated using the summer school grade.
Okay, and that would be a C average for like the whole year?
Correct.
Okay, yep, thank you.
Jim?
The only thing that kind of struck me was, I think the 1,600 enrollment for high school, is that correct?
For all K through 12.
All, okay.
Yes, that was all.
Okay, so that represents a relatively small percentage of the student enrollment, correct?
Over our total,
Yeah.
yes.
I just was curious on how effective and how encouraged children are, or students are, to take the summer program.
I think at the middle and high school levels, at all levels, I know elementary, they identified any students that didn't have or kind of make progress or could be invited towards. They invited those students. I know middle and high school, any student that failed a course were also invited and given that opportunity to kind of participate in any of the pathways. So the opportunity was, I think, given to most families.
Well, I think it's a great program, and I just want to make sure that everybody gets the opportunity.
Well, and for those students who weren't invited to summer school, because of course the amount of staff we could support dictates how many students, of course, we can have, and you want to keep very small numbers of students when you're doing a summer recovery program, because you want to focus on those individual students. But what we are lucky enough to do is we are able to allow students to keep their devices through this summer. Except for our graduating seniors, they had to return theirs. But the other kids can take, Guinness is gone. They could keep their devices, and we will be making sure that they have access to those digital resources so they can do what we call boost courses. In other words, even though they're not typically, enrolled in summer school, Mr. Davis, they're able to still get online and practice mathematics or do their English and things like that online in preparation for next year.
That's all I have, thank you.
So I'm going to focus on the special ed. You have the 2-hour special designated instruction. Will these students be going to a specific school, even though, let's say, maybe the students at Ridge, but now for the summer school, for the recovery, you're have them go to, let's say, Green Holly.
It would be their home site. And for the afternoon, it is for the secondary students, so middle and high school. So if students, those programs, so if it's a Margaret Brent student, special education that opted to have services, they would come in the afternoon to Margaret Brent, so it is their home site.
Okay, so it wouldn't be the elementary schools, it would be only the middle and high schools?
Right.
Okay.
We're providing, and I hate to speak for Mr. Serbiak, but my understanding is, and please interject, we're providing the services for elementary special ed at their home site in the morning, and having those special education teachers at those elementary schools, home elementary schools, unless they're under construction, to pull those students out if needed. So we're designed the English as a 90-minute block. And mathematics is 90 minutes. So the intention is, from if a kid needs a specialized intervention, they would do 60 minutes of English and be taken out for the 30-minute intervention by a special educator or para. Does that make sense? And then mathematics the same way.
All right.
Unless they're in a regional program.
So would the regional programs have the 2-hour added on to their day? Or you said that's only the high school?
Do you know that answer for the regional programs?
For the regional programs, no, I do not.
Okay. Dr. Montgomery, do you know about the regional program?
The 2 hours added on for the regional programs, or is it only 4 hours?
They're in the regional programs, so they're not going to the traditional program. They are in, so for example, the SAIL kids are going into a SAIL summer recovery program, and the lab kids are going into a High Roads summer recovery program, and the Compass kids are going into a Compass summer recovery program.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you for answering that.
I'm glad that we have a safety assistant at each school in the summer, and that you will have a nurse on site for students with a required need. And if there isn't a student with a required need in that school, you will have a CPR first aid trained team. Who are those people? The CPR, are they EMTs? Who are they? Are they teachers who are trained, or what?
Teachers, site leaders that would be trained, yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Sounds good. I mean, a lot parents want to take advantage of this, and students want to go back to school, to see their friends, and I like the idea of having breakfast for students and lunch. It makes it easier on the parents, because some parents are still struggling, and so they get breakfast and they'll get lunch. So, it's very difficult to teach a student who is hungry. So I think that's really good with having the breakfast and the lunch. And thank Dr. Walker and everybody under his department. They have been working extremely hard to provide meals during COVID for all students, 18 and under, whether you're a public school student or not. You could get a free lunch. Well, free meals, not lunch, meals.
Free meals, yeah.
And over the holidays, you got your meals, but you got them in advance, and you could order them a la carte. Or if you had any special allergies and you couldn't eat this, accommodations were made for you. So I'm looking forward to it, and I know the parents and the students are too, because we want to get our students caught up. Thank you.
Tell me about class sizes for face-to-face, for virtual synchronous, and for virtual asynchronous at all the levels. What do you expect?
For most, we'd set for the virtual, start with the virtual, for K through 5, the K through 2, we're trying to set no more than 18 or 19 students in a setting, and if we need to, we would have an AM session and a PM session, so no more than those. For the 3rd through 5th grade, about, I think 25 would be the max. They're not necessarily, some grades, I think first grade are kind of at that max for AM and PM, but for the others, we're kind of under that. For face-to-face, normally about, depends, I think some of them could be anywhere from about 15 to 20 students, depending upon staffing, how many teachers the sites were actually able to procure, hire, so, and then different subject areas. So.
And the teachers that will be participating this summer, are they generally the teachers already assigned to that particular school, or have you had to send teachers who, say, would normally have been at Banneker and, now they're going to be at Leonardtown Elementary?
Most have stuck with their home sites. We do have externals. So we have external candidates from the community that did apply and were cleared through Abacus. We do have some Abacus employees as well. We do have some sites, that larger sites, for instance, Benjamin Banneker, some of their teachers are site leaders at other elementaries. So we have some that are the site leader at Mechanicsville and Dinard, and I think at Oakville as well. So some staff did move, but for majority, they pretty much stayed within their home site. Or it could also be some of the dedicated subs. Throughout the year, they apply to be teachers or paraeducators, former students that we've had as well come back and we're applying, and they'll be working with our students. So it's great.
I know that some of the school systems across the greater Maryland, Virginia district area were not able to offer as robust programs as they might have wished because they were not able to hire enough teachers. Has that been a problem here?
No, I think for every site, there may be 1 or 2 positions, but most of them are fully staffed. I think at the elementary, K through 5, they're able to have about 6 teachers, plus a special educator and a paraeducator. At the secondary level, up to 12 teachers, plus a paraeducator and a special educator. So most sites are fully staffed. Some may have, maybe 1 or 2, they may only have like 10 teachers, but it's been a lot. And I think probably since January, when everything was being planned and finally getting in, I think I came on board May 3rd, just in the past 7 weeks. We've had a lot of the hiring, the technology, everything. And like I said, it's a system-wide initiative, and our teachers and our staffs, every department, every schoolhouse have played a role in making this actually happen. So we're really looking forward to it. And everyone has the mindset that, I think it was one of our supervisors, Bridget Dunbar, if we're going to do summer school, let's make it doable. So they want a positive atmosphere. They're there to help the students, K through 12. So it really is, I guess, a testament to our system, because we do have some of the finest here in St. Mary's County Public Schools. So.
And what we also did is, because we do have dedicated subs, we have a lot of paraeducators teaching classes and as dedicated subs and things like that, some Abacus employees. So this entire week, Monday through Thursday of this week, for 7 hours or 6 hours a day, 6 hours a day, they've been doing professional development with supervisors. So they have actually been going through professional development this week, so the supervisors can show them, this is what you do when a student comes in. So kind of walking them through what the expectations and what the curriculum should look like. Because summer school in the past, sometimes, I don't want to say it's almost campy, but if you remember summer school, and this year we have to make sure that absolutely want kids to have fun and want to come to school, but we have some recovery of learning to do. And so it really needs to be focused on power standards, and we've got some real work to do, and I think everybody is on the same page after this. And that's the first time I've ever seen this much professional development given before we start an initiative, and it's very powerful. It's something to learn. I know we can't do it all the time, but it is something to see.
I think it's wonderful. We have this conversation often about the amount, the type of professional development that's offered here, and having the opportunity to talk with board members across the state and to work with superintendents outside of this system. I know that what we're able to do here and what we emphasize here is not always the standard or the expectation in other places. So I know that in talking with new teachers, one of the things they often point to is just really the incredible support system that's put into place to make sure that that they have everything they need to be able to succeed and to do the best for our students. So I do appreciate all the work that you do to make sure that the professional development that is offered is on target, is very much workable, and is going to be well received. It's not surprising in other places to hear teachers talk about going into professional development and finding the time to just sleep through everything because they don't feel as though it is directed at what their needs are. So well done on that.
I have one question. Is it possible for a parent to say, my child needs summer school, but you targeted the students to go to summer school, right? The ones who needed recovery and the ones that are falling behind. If a parent say, my child needs the help, I would like for my child to attend summer school, what are the options?
We would encourage them to talk to their principal. Those are school-based decisions, and we've let them be school-based decisions.
So each school determine who needs the extra help to go to summer school.
And I mean, in any case, if there's a special case, if there's something, I think we have the 3 pathways, and there may be some, we would have to kind of work through any of those logistics to make it happen if someone definitely needed to be in there.
But as you've shared over the past few meetings about summer school, my understanding was you were really casting a wide net in terms of students who may be struggling. So this was not a narrow path to get there. I think it was very robust, and the expectation was if there's somebody out there that we think needs that assistance, we're going to make it possible.
Yeah, and again, everybody has their devices this summer, and we're keeping the platforms open.
Okay,
So regardless, we can offer something to every student.
Right.
Every student.
And
It
some
just may not-
students work better face-to-face.
Absolutely.
See, that's the issue I guess I was getting at.
Right.
Some parents may say, my kid needs face-to-face, Is there room? Can my child attend summer school? How can you make that work for me? But you say they check with the principal. Start there and then see what happens.
Absolutely,
And see what can
yes.
be worked out. Because some kids work better face-to-face, some kids work better virtual. So it depends on the individual needs of the particular students. But I really appreciate all the hard work you have put together. I mean, this has been an unprecedented 15 months or so, and everybody has had to do more. It's been nothing like this has ever happened in modern times. And the school system did a great job. I mean, you had to pivot just like that. I mean, from one day to the next, the whole system had to change. So thank you for everything you're doing. I like the 4-day a week and then this 1 day, right? The teacher isn't, does the teacher come 5 days a week?
No,
or
the
four?
everybody's
school
4
system
days.
goes
Okay,
to 4
that's
days a
right.
week.
So
We're
4 days a
compressed.
week, that's good, because that gives the kids a day to play and, engage in social activities, and the teachers, because the teachers have been working extremely hard, and for them to volunteer to teach during summer school is just incredible, and the paraeducators as well, everybody.
All right. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
ladies.
Thank you very
Anything
much,
else?
Ms. Stone in particular. That you have definitely been putting together a 2,000-piece puzzle without the picture and of a blizzard. So, well done.
That's a good example. Great example.
All right. The next regular board meeting will be on Wednesday, July 21st at 9 a.m. And with that, we are adjourned.